Welcome back to We Care a Lot. I'm half of the podcast, Mel.
And I'm the other half, Sam.
I'm in the middle of chewing, but welcome back. Needed a snack.
I was having a snack, if you will. How do we start this one? I feel so serious. It's not like a serious topic, but it kind of is. It's like giving, we need to have a talk to the viewers. I don't know. I feel like personally, I always had pretty realistic expectations of a relationship. My ex-boyfriends may not agree.
That's a point to be made, I guess.
That's a whole nother discussion. But I don't know. I think there's people who either, like, they live on either side of this. Like, expectation that it's supposed to be perfect and you're always laughing and you're always smiling and you guys are just match made in heaven. It's a fucking fairy tale. The flip side is like, well, it's okay if we fight. Like people fight.
People fight all the time.
Yeah, like 90% of the time. What? It's so normal. We just disagree on things and we're growing.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, if you're on the side of, like, everything needs to be perfect, like, you're living in dreamland, or you're, like, only watching rom-coms. I mean, even in rom-coms, they have, like, issues, so.
Yeah, they do.
I guess, like, you're living in a fucking, I don't know what, dreamland, like I said, and then second situation, either, like, you grew up with a warped version of what love is supposed to be like, or along the way, you've created that for yourself, where you think that that's what love is, and in general, there's just, like, there's a middle ground there. And it's not, like, a middle ground that doesn't feel, like, satisfying. It's just more so both things can be true at the same time, and it doesn't have to live on polar ends.
Yeah, I think if you're living on polar ends, you're not living authentically. Even to yourself. Because I think sometimes we as people can get stuck in, like, the fairy tale land. Or, like, fairy tale land to your friends. Like, oh my god, he's just perfect. It's like, shut up, dude. No, he's not. I know you're lying. Like, I remember, this is so random, but Kim Zolciak, she was a Real Housewife, I believe, and then she got her own spinoff with her husband. Oh, it's Brielle Biermann's mom. That family. She, on her show, was like, oh, me and my husband, we just never fight. We're, like, perfect for each other. We just, like, and I'm like, why are you selling that to people? Guess what they're getting? A divorce.
Because that's not real.
That I'm not laughing at that, but like,
just
come
like
on, be real. Why are you trying to sell this story or narrative that you never fight? I don't know. It's just, that's what confuses people. It's like, well, they never fight. So then they think, well, we're supposed to be perfect all the time. Like, we're getting in a fight or it's over. It's detrimental.
Yeah, totally. I think there's always, like, this saying that is with, like, the fighting aspect that, like, it's never easy, like, nothing, like, it's whatever's good is never easy, or whatever. What is that?
What's worth having isn't easy.
It's like never knowing what word we mean to say or what phrase we're trying to say.
We just make it up. Doesn't come easy. We weren't that far off.
Okay, yeah.
Nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, and difficulty.
Okay, relax.
Whoa, buddy.
No.
God. Girl boss.
But there's that saying that, like, it's like, it shouldn't be easy. And I think there's, like, levels to it. I think that there should be
effort
and, like, a foundation of ease of sorts. I don't think that, like, the fighting, or not even fighting, like, the disagreeing and, like, revisiting, like, topics over and over again, because things don't get fixed the first time you talk about them with your partner. Let's be real.
We're humans.
We're humans. We will continue to make the mistake until it finally clicks. And even then you might have a relapse again at some point, you know. It's just normal. But as long as you're having, like, that foundational ease of, like, understanding and commitment, and also just, like, being a team or empathetic to one another, there's, like...
But then that's when the people that are fighting are like, we're just so committed. I'm just so loyal.
But there's a difference between, like... But the thing is, like, what I'm viewing is, like, people who say things like that and, like, are in very toxic relationships... I get it. You can't see an out sometimes, and also you just, like, you don't think that it is what it is. But there's like a level of respect with the foundation I'm talking about. And I feel like sometimes with those toxic relationships, there isn't that level of respect. It's if you have that level of respect, there shouldn't be like a fighting scream match.
I just think about like, obviously there's people who are unhealed in relationships, so that's like obviously super difficult. Not to say that you have to deal with them because you love them. Like, there's obviously the effort there of trying to heal. Like, I'm thinking of The Ultimatum. Tiff was making an effort. Mildred, I wasn't getting much. I mean, unless she's triggered. Like, otherwise she's cool. But until she's triggered, it's like, game on.
It's like, all bets are off. I get to
I'm going to do whatever I want.
And do whatever I want.
Right.
Which, that's what I'm saying. There's no level of respect that's, like, foundational.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think it's just so hard for people to realize it when they're in it, which is, like, the fucking...
Well, that's what we're going to talk about, the realistic expectations. Like, it doesn't have to be rainbows and butterflies, but you do have to have a level of, like, literally, like, understanding of one another, and, like, what is the outcome that you always want to come to. And it's not necessarily, like, always just, like, magic, like, fucking coming out of you guys, like, but it's like having, like, this moment of, I get where you're coming from, this is where I'm also coming from. I just want, like, peace should be, like, your fucking goal. Peace with one another.
I just think also, realistically, there needs to be, like you're saying, the foundation of respect, but also the foundation of, like, I like you as a person. I could be around you. I like you. I want my kids to be like you.
Well, I mean,
to an extent.
We're talking about relationships, so that's probably already there. It should be there.
Listen.
Why are you in a relationship if you're not already thinking these things? I don't know who's out there.
I don't know who's out there. But sometimes you just don't think about it until you're already boyfriend and girlfriend, or girlfriend and girlfriend, like, partners. And then you're like, I maybe jumped the gun on this one. You know what I mean?
Then leave. I don't know. Like, I don't even think it's, like, worth mentioning that aspect of things, because it's like, I don't know that those people are really trying to work towards a relationship. Like, you're just, at that point, you're just in someone's life and honestly ruining it, if that's what they're viewing from you.
I think this is...
Like, I think of, like, Vanessa and Xander. That bitch was like...
I thought you were talking about someone we knew. I was like, oh my god. It's like, she did not.
No, from Ultimatum. Like, Vanessa and Xander. I feel like Vanessa was in that mindset of, like, this is just the person I'm kind of, like, in a I'm just in a relationship, but, like, Xander was like, I want to get married. But that's my thing.
Vanessa was so, like, not aware of that, though. You know what I mean? Like, she was in it. She thought, like, I could marry them, but it was more like, you need to unlock the levels of your expectations of a relationship, because it's clearly not the same.
I think, like,
also discussing that with your partner or potential partners beforehand.
Yeah.
Before becoming.
I also just feel like a relationship needs to be made more serious, like, in people's eyes. Like, you're not just, like, literally in 5th grade being boyfriend and girlfriend.
Oh, but
you know what I mean?
But it is for a lot of, especially our age.
But, like, why?
Well, maybe, like,
I don't think at our
younger
age
than
anymore.
Our age.
I think,
like, 25 and younger. It was kind of like, this is fun. And then once you're 25, you're like, wait a minute.
But why do people do that? Like, do you feel like you were getting into relationships where you were like,
I wasn't telling myself that. I wasn't like, oh yeah, this is just for now.
But even if these guys that you were with were shit people, at the time, you were actually trying to build a relationship, marry, right? So, like, that's why I can't understand, like, people getting into relationships and, like,
I think maybe it's situational. Like, I know I'm not going to live here forever, or...
But why are you together? In that, like, committed way. I think that's what I'm saying. Like, the commitment needs to be made more serious in people's, like, the word relationship is different. Like,
well, I guess that's
you know what I mean?
Realistic expectations of a relationship. Discussing what that means to you. Right?
I mean, there's different types of relationships. There's, like, monogamy.
Situationships.
And there's, well, that's not one.
No?
No, girl. That's not one.
You know, the things I always find myself in.
There's, like, polygamy, obviously, like, being polyamorous. There's non-monogamy, which is different from that. And then there's also, like, being monogamous. And I'm sure there's a shit ton of things in between that. So it's just, like, what is your type of expectation in that type of relationship that you're creating?
And then we're bringing in the realisticness of Just in general.
Like,
for any relationship.
The level of respect, that should be in every single situation that you're in.
Yes, definitely. I gotta say, now that you're bringing up polygamy, did you watch Sister Wives?
Like a couple times.
My mom's addicted. She loves TLC.
TLC is addicting, dude. It's fucked up.
Binging. Anyway, so she loves Sister Wives. So invested. And it's just insane to me the level of respect that Cody, the husband, does not have for really any of his wives. And I'm like, you're married to all of them. Just, I mean, not legally because of the whole polygamy thing. So maybe that's where he's like on this power trip of like, legally I hold the power of whatever. Like, I don't fucking know what his issue is. But it's like the things he says to them. I'm like, and this is why you have one wife left. Mm-hmm. And this is why it's ending. Anyway, realistic expectations.
Yeah, and like, exactly. When I think about like polyamorous people, like I can't even think, or like polygamy, I don't think of that anymore. Like I think that growing up, when you think like polygamy and it's like really crazy, you think of the Sister Wives. Now
like religion too.
Yeah, and religion. And now I just more so see it as like a choice that people are making based on like believing, like the belief system of like monogamy not really working for long-term purposes. I think in a lot of cases where like I feel like more often than not, obviously with like divorce rates, but also just like in general, people's grow up with like their parents having like these nuances to their like relationships that were like not necessarily like cut and dry perfect.
Yeah.
You know? And you're like starting, I mean, not that like it's for everyone, for sure. I think some people are still meant to be monogamous, but I just feel like now my views of like
what that means
look different when it pops up into my head.
I think it was on The Ultimatum. I forget who said it, but they were just like, I can't give myself to someone forever. We live so long. Yeah, we live so long. We used to live to like 40. Now we live to like 80. It's just like, that's like multiple
40 years.
Like, which when she put it that way, I was like,
yeah, our lifespans literally like have doubled.
But it's also like having the mindset of like, I'm gonna get married to you for now.
I think a lot of people,
I'm like, wait a minute,
have been going into it that way, which is weird. You know what I mean?
It's like forever is kind of what you're signing up for.
Yeah,
I get it. Divorce happens. It's not the end of the world.
But your goal shouldn't be like, I'm gonna get divorced.
Like when this is like fizzled out,
like then I'll just
like, what?
No,
we're not doing that. Just FYI, everybody.
FYI, we're not doing that.
Mel and I did not sign up for that.
But yeah, anyway, I listened to this one podcast. Was it 2 days ago? It's by like this therapist, or I don't know if she's a psychologist or what, but she's a doctor of some sort. She's a doctor of sorts. Her name's Esther Perel. She does like a podcast. I think it's over, but it was like maybe
a series.
I think there's like 20 episodes or something. There's this one that was called like My Orgasm Isn't Just for Me or something like that, and I was like,
you said, what does that mean?
I was like, what does that mean? I'm always like looking at podcasts on like how to. So Logan and I are in our 5th year, or coming up to our 5th year, and like I'm always looking to like how to improve like our like intimacy or just like our relationship. Okay, that's a whole nother
episode topic.
We can get into it.
Keeping it alive. How to keep your relationship alive.
It's like
coming soon.
Not that like obviously we're like it's dying. It's just like more so
but yeah.
Like maintenance is not a bad word. It's more so like you want to keep things fun and exciting all the time, and also you want to get closer to the people that
you don't want
you're
things
making
to feel comfortable.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean?
Yeah. But anyway, so this podcast, there's that episode where I was like, interesting, what is this about? And it ended up just like taking me for a fucking wild ride. I would listen to it. I'll link it. But it was basically it was like this gay couple, which I was like, I landed on the right one.
You said, oh my
It was two women
period.
dating, and like there was kind of like an issue of wanting to be polyamorous, and like they kind of wanted to move forward, but
how long were they dating?
I think 2 years. Not long.
Okay.
I mean, it's long,
yeah.
But like I think of 5 years and I'm like, that's really long, especially for like gay women. Y'all are crazy. Anyway, so they're talking about like wanting to move forward with being polyamorous with like as their relationship, but like them being like each other's like
main bitches.
What are they called? Like their primary or whatever.
Not
the fuck.
The primary. I'm thinking
or
of
like,
below deck. the primary charter guest.
And she brings it back in.
I'm telling you, I can always bring it back up. Ask me a question. I got you.
I need to fucking watch Below Deck at this point.
There's like
I don't get it.
My dad was like, I was looking at the yacht or the sailing season, and there's like 30 episodes in one season. I was like, oh, you trying to watch it? She's like, I was just looking.
Oh my god.
Anyways.
So yeah, they're trying to get into like this like part of the relationship, and their issues are mostly sexual issues, where like intimacy sexually, where one of them, I think it's hard to base it because like you're not seeing these people, but I think one of them for sure is like a black woman who comes from like an African descent of sorts, and then the other one's like an Americanized, probably like white woman. Mm-hmm. And like then we get into like deeper shit of like cultural stuff where like she comes from a heritage of like her culture basically does like mutilation, like women mutilation, like they'll cut off like your clitoris as a part of like their cultural ritual thing. And so
it's painful.
It's painful, I'm sure. But like, so she's the first woman in her like women lineage who has not had it done to her. And so she has a hard time like with pleasure. And she thinks it's like spiritual, where like she feels like she's like, I have it, but I sometimes feel like I don't. Oh. I don't even think it's like a guilt thing. I think it's like ancestrally something's going on with her, where she's like, her purpose on this planet is to like heal the like lineage of like women who were mutilated. It's crazy. This episode is so deep. I was sobbing. It was so good. And her partner is so like understanding, and like they get to basically a point where like they understand why being polyamorous in their relationship will really work, because like she's not looking to like the therapist Esther Perel just like says something like, let's now rework the word polyamorous to mean community, because she's like, this woman is basically looking for a community of like sexual partners to help her heal through her sexual like,
are you for real?
to heal through like her sexual, I guess her lineage is like sexual trauma. You know what I mean?
Okay, wait.
It's so deep. You just had to listen to it. I'm botching this motherfucking episode.
I'm like, now I have questions.
You have to. It's so good. Okay. So I'll link it. But it's just, it made me really think about like how different and unique everyone's like expectations or like needs are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think needs are so different from expectations.
Sure. Yes.
Also.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, we're giving you a very generic, like, listen, I wish we could jump through the screen and be like, tell me everything you're going through.
What are your boxes you
what can we personalize for you? But we're just trying to give the best advice we can based on what we know, what we've been through, and trying to be generic because we know everybody's situation is fucking different.
It's so different.
But yeah, I think there's just the toxic trope of being like, oh my god, like, we're working on being so much better. We're so committed to each other. We love each other.
Like they say, this happened, but what, girl?
But what? Like, but you love him? It's not enough.
And that motherfucking statement.
But daddy, I love him.
Literally, fuck off. Bitch, get back in your room. I can't with people, like, I can't when people say like, but I love him, or I love them,
I get it,
or I love her. I get it. I totally understand.
Been there.
But a relationship, great. Love is great. You can
love can exist forever,
and you can find it in different places. Let me just say that. But a relationship, you don't want to be with somebody long term without the commitment piece. Like, love is not enough. You need to be committed and choosing somebody every single day.
Who's also doing that for you.
Exactly. It has to be a reciprocal thing.
And then I'm like, the little details of like, well, they're going through something right now, so they can't be there for me in the same way. I'm like, yes.
Well, like, that's another thing. I feel like this is another thing that I've learned is like, I think this is more sort of an expectation and not necessarily a need. And you can tell me how you think about it. But I have come to find, not only in being in my relationship, but like listening to things like the thing that I just talked about, relationships aren't always going to be 50-50.
Yeah.
It's going to be 20-70. Some days you both might be at 20%. Like, it's gonna be a give and take always. And you can't expect, like, exactly the same at all times. But there's, like, a level of commitment and, like, a level of understanding with one another that you're gonna ebb and flow, but you're, like, here together. You know what I mean?
The communication of, like, today is
it's just not it.
Gonna be a good day.
Yeah.
Well, don't say that.
Not sad. Don't say that. But yeah,
don't say that. But
I might be having a hard time today, just to let you know. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
for sure. And a lot of that is, like, communicating things, but, like, understanding that I don't like the, like, a relationship should be 50-50. I'm like, that's not necessarily true all of the time. I think that's a silly thing to, like, have people expect, because we're all human, and then you start to believe that your relationship is, like, not good enough sometimes, and then you get into this trope, I guess, but, like,
yeah,
I think it's a slippery, like, slope and a very thin line of, like, both of those things.
That's what's so hard. It's like, this is reminding me of the intuition versus anxiety episode of, like, so are we good, or am I just overthinking?
Am I just overthinking always?
Yeah, I think because when things went bad in my past relationships, I would be like, it's fine, like, it's just, this is our issue, and we're working on it.
But, like, did you feel that they were putting enough effort into?
Sometimes, which is what's hard.
That's difficult.
Because, like, they give you either fake effort, where it's like, I promise I'm lying to you, or they give you effort for a short period of time and then stop. It's like, I think it's okay to a certain point to obviously wish for the best for your partners and the people you're with and have high hopes, but it comes to the point where you're like, you've disappointed me time and time again. I'm now realizing that you're not who you said you would be, or whatever. And I think that's the key of, like, if you're in the toxic situation where you're unsure if it's toxic or not, it's like, is your partner making you feel bad things, like toxic, crazy, whatever? Or do they make you feel overall, like, supported,
safe,
even if they're hurt by your actions or whatever?
I feel like if you're feeling safe and you have the availability to be open enough about, like, true feelings without, like, a blame game of back and forth, that's probably healthy.
I have this, like, weird, for whatever reason this came to me, that, like, I don't know if we're the first generation, but, like, I know we've talked about it before, but, like, I almost feel guilty getting to be so picky about partners. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like our parents' generation was very much not, like, forced into marriage or anything.
But there was, like, certain social expectations of, like, you gotta have kids by, like, mid-20s, man.
Yeah, something to that degree or whatever. So I'm like, damn, I feel kind of guilty.
Why guilt, though? I feel like there's so much to be healed there.
Yeah, it's not, I'm not, like, I don't live any differently, but it's just this thought.
What like, makes you feel guilty about it, though? That, like, they didn't get to do it?
Yeah. Like, my parents personally, my mom, you know, like...
I mean, your mom, yeah.
No one really, like, dated around. Like, I don't know any of these, like, maybe I just don't know the stories, but, like, whatever.
Yeah.
But it just feels like, I mean, it wasn't meant for them, obviously. Whatever. This is a side story. Just a random thought I had. But...
No, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, being picky is the other side of, like, people who never end up in a relationship or are just, like, 27 dresses. Katherine Heigl, like, just always... What is it? Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Never a bride.
I knew that one. Lucky me.
Lucky me. It's a movie title. No, it's not.
It's the tagline.
It's basically. The tagline. No, yeah, I think the guilt, like, being picky it's a double-edged sword at this point.
Yeah, you can't be so picky to the point where you don't give people a chance, but also have standards.
Yeah.
like if you're literally not giving people a chance because they wear flip-flops or something to that, it's like, you could just tell them you don't like it when they wear flip-flops, and maybe they won't wear them around you. Or you'll get over it because you love them eventually.
I think there's, like, a level of, like, with this generation is, like, every single thing is, like, nitpicked, and it's like, if it's not fully perfect, it's not it. Like, and I'm like, listen,
literally,
I understand what you're saying. Like, talking to, like, a baby, I understand what you're saying. I get it. But no one's perfect.
Yeah.
And I think, like, that's hard to remind, like
you know
to
what?
remind each other about.
Dating apps kind of detrimental in that way because I'll be being picky, and then I like look at myself and I'm like,
wait a minute.
I'm like, why are you being so picky? I'm like,
I think like to an emotional extent, and also like maybe some physical attributes, you can be picky, whatever. But I think like nitpicking to every single fucking detail about somebody, like, oh my god, they're missing a toenail, like, or some shit, I don't know. Or like
me almost having lost a toenail.
Excuse me. You're like, oh my god,
that's embarrassing.
Or like they have a scar on their arm,
right? Whatever.
Or their face.
Their
whatever.
tattoo's
Just
ugly.
Like, girl, get over it. Like, this person is really kind to you. They love you. They support you in every aspect. You're attracted to them.
Or maybe they will.
Yeah.
Be all those things.
Yeah. Or like you're like, it's like everything's lining up, but you're really like nitpicky about, like you said, their fucking sandals. I'm like, girl.
Or like they took you to a not expensive place for your first date or something. Oh. Like, I think there's a lot of girls that are very much like, I don't know. I think with dating, I think this is the whole fucking thing about men and dating and then the expectations. I think it's hard for men genuinely to know what to do in situations sometimes. Like, hear me out. I'm being here for the men for a second.
No, dude, I want to do like a fucking, I don't know, like a training or like a fucking another podcast with Logan where like 2 gay women tell men what to do.
Honestly, yeah.
This is absurd. It's absurd.
But like, I think on one hand, it's hard. I think dating should be generally 50-50. Obviously, you want to feel taken care of. Both parties do. Both people in this relationship want to feel taken care of and loved and blah, blah, blah. So I think it's like hard when there's like these fake rules, which we've talked about. Like, he has to pay on the first date or whatever, or the person who asked has to pay on the first date. I think at a certain age, that's probably pretty accurate. It's like, okay, we make enough money to at least pay for the first date or a drink or whatever. Like, you picked the date. You can kind of decide what your budget is, what we're going to do.
Right.
You know, there's like ways around not being so like hoity-toity about these rules, I guess. But that's also the part where the confusion comes in, because then it's like, well, some women don't like it when you expect it to be 50 or to be fully paid or whatever. It's like, I want to split it and like all these things. But I'm like, just come in how you want to come in. If you feel like 50-50 on the first date is what is best, genuinely, then come in and do it. And if they're like, that's a deal breaker, it's a deal breaker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just come in genuine.
I think like,
if you suck, you suck.
This is like a little like, I guess like all of this is a little off topic, but I like
it's expectations.
Yeah. To this to the point of like who pays. I just feel like I understand like I understand all of the views of wanting to be paid for, not 50-50, wanting to be, or like even you pay for it, whatever. In general, it just like when it's specifically women who are just like, they need to pay for the first date, I'm like, girl, is this the 1950s where like someone really has to like,
I don't think like, there's like such hard and fast
flock
rules.
Their feathers for you, like that's what you want them to do. Like, it's just weird to me. Like, and maybe this is like not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm like, you're both going there to meet, to vibe and like suss it out. It should be like an equal exchange, unless you're literally going on a date with somebody you don't even want to go on a date with. Sure, then maybe they should pay, but like, why are you,
like, if they've been begging you for a date,
why are you putting yourself in these situations? You know what I mean? Like, for a meal?
Yeah, it's a loaded.
Anyway, that's a whole loaded other situation. But moving back to a relationship,
expectations, yes.
Yeah, I think like you said, there's like a toxic trope of like letting the bad things continue just for the sake to like
say I'm committed
and stay in a relationship because this is what love is supposed to be like. No.
Which it doesn't even have to be like a abusive relationship. No. It could literally just be you guys don't get along. Yeah. And it's pretty clear you're disagreeing. Like, you're always fighting about marriage, kids, religion, schedules. Like,
if things aren't feeling like
in line,
I don't even want to say easy, but they're just not flowing as like good. If it's too hard and there's a constant like static in between moments of you and this person, with like it seems like every single situation, this is not it.
Like everything that comes up is a problem, and it's just getting lunch with your friends or something. It's like, oh well, we were supposed to do X, Y, and Z, and now the dog, and now my aunt and my uncle, like, you know what I mean? There's just like so many different factors.
I think to some extent, like love and like relationships should be easy, like where it doesn't feel like a constant battle that's like always something to be compromising on. I think it's like it just should feel like it should feel like something that you both are gaining from and not necessarily having to like cut back from each other. You know what I mean?
Addition to your lives, not a subtraction.
You should add more to somebody's life, not
take
it, or like, you know, don't take from their lives. With that said, like I feel like there's like a lot of things need to be like sort of easy, I guess, but to not have like the expectation that like things can sometimes have their moments is also like not right.
I think we're like trying to explain
like a middle ground. It's but so hard.
It's also, I think, you know, when things are not how they should be, because reasonably I think we all know relationships take work, but they're also supposed to be fun and positive and adding to your life most of the time. It's just when you're in the moment, you're so caught up in, but I love them, or, but they do this for me, or, oh, I can't leave because they're paying my rent, or what, you know what I mean? Like, I'm telling you, there's situations like that, and it's like,
for sure.
Or you have kids, like, whatever the situation is, it's like, you just gotta sit with yourself and be like, I know something's wrong, and I need to figure out what my exit plan is. If you need a full-blown, like, plan to get there, do it. Because at the end of the day, girl, you do not be sitting in a toxic relationship. Things that don't serve you. You're opening yourself up to what is meant for you by leaving things that are not.
Yep.
And isn't that like way more exciting? It's so scary at first. You're like, my expectations aren't being met, but I'm going to sit around and wait and hope that one day they are.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but I'm unhappy the whole time.
Yeah.
Versus leaving and maybe your expectations aren't being met because you're by yourself now or whatever, but you're gonna eventually be happy and okay, and then you're gonna find someone who does meet your expectations. And it's like, oh, what the fuck was I waiting around for this whole time? Why was I not wasting time? Because I don't think relationships are a waste of time, but like, why was I wasting my time trying to make something work that obviously wasn't going to?
Yeah.
And that's when love is like,
I think the realistic efforts in a relationship, because I feel like we went into like this spiral of like break up with them, which is not a thing. That's not the point of this episode. It's more so like to put yourself in a place to understand what do you need to, like, what are the expectations to begin like or continue a healthy relationship. I know I had said like a foundational like respect and understanding. I think it is really just like the common goal of it all. Like, what is your common goal in being in this relationship? And if it's like to be in love, pick a new one.
Not pick a new one.
Love is a feeling. It's an emotion. It's a state of being. But a commitment with the word relationship is different. Like, what do you guys want to be? Like, the goal is to be doing life together.
That just made me think about like when people say I love you, instead of saying I love you, I commit to you.
I commit to you.
Right now I'm not really feeling the love part, but I commit to you.
That's why you say I do and you don't say I love you at the altar, because it's a commitment.
It's a legal contractual.
You're literally signing off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're saying like, I'm gonna
do all these things
to make sure that we are growing together. And life is so fucking long. Like,
bro.
And it's also not, though. It's also goes by so fast. It like reminds me, here's another saying, but you know how people say like when they have kids, like the days are long, but the years are short.
Something like that. I think it's that.
I think I got it on the first try. I feel like that's literally life though. Like the days are long, but then like you look back and the years just like fucking flew by.
Yeah.
You don't want to be in a relationship with something that doesn't feel whole, or like you don't feel like you both are working at it together. You know, it doesn't need to be a 50-50 all the time,
Yeah.
But that you're actually working on it together, where you feel like you're lifting each other up and you're being seen. Heard, yeah.
Safe, like all these things. And I think we could get into like realistic expectation, like it's not these like little things where it's like they text you back every day, like they like let's be real, there are obvious things that your partner should be doing.
And I also feel like,
but come on,
I feel like if you're in a long-term relationship, you go through different phases.
Yeah,
like
at the beginning everything is so different,
yeah,
versus when you're 5 years in.
Like I started dating Logan when I was 21. I'm now 26. I'm two different people now, you know? And I feel like that in itself should like tell you that like you're going to go through different phases of one another, but there's like something that stays the same, like the commitment and I don't even want to say love, but literally like
don't say it.
The goal stays the same, you know?
Or it changes together.
Yeah. Correct.
Like
what do you mean? Like, what goal would change?
Like, we want to live in this state instead, or whatever, you know?
But that shouldn't be, like, your underlying goal of your
like, the overall goal of... What are some examples of goals, I guess? Like,
I think
being together forever is a goal. That's not a goal, is it? No, it's too big. It's giving love each other.
I'm not more so thinking... I guess, like, the goal is the wrong word. Because it's not...
Intention?
Like, your intention for this relationship. Like, I mean, everyone's intention should be, like, what? To have, like, a long-term commitment, right? If you're in a relationship.
Okay.
So, like, but, like, in what ways do you want to have that relationship? And it should be with, like, understanding, peace, fucking respect. For me, like, I think, I don't know whose wouldn't, but, like, I think respect in a relationship is the utmost important, because like there's like a level of wanting to see each other and like,
yeah, I mean, lack of respect is literally like, I don't give a fuck about how you feel about the situation.
Yeah, there's like
fuck?
There's a selflessness to it, but there's also like, if I am ever out of line and not respecting you, then I'm going against our relationship, you know what I mean? And I need to come back to the goal of like respecting one another, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I more so mean by goal, like something to come back to, like the anchor of your relationship. I don't know.
It's been like 1.5 years since I've been in a relationship, so I'm like, forgot about all this.
Not forgot about all
this.
It's
like, dang, commitment, huh?
It's a fucking...
It's commitment.
It's a commitment. A commitment's a commitment, dude.
Who knew?
Who knew? Who knew that's what it meant?
Shit, no wonder I haven't been in one.
It's a good time.
Yeah, I mean... I think that's maybe why people stay single for so long, that know what realistic expectations are in a relationship, because they know they can't meet them. I'm not emotionally available to meet you where you need to be met. I'm not physically available, mentally available, whatever it is.
That's a huge point.
You know? That's why people are just single.
But I think there's also like, there's like a fear that like is really prevalent in our like age group at the moment, where I feel like people are fearful to commit because they don't want to be shitty people to
with
one another,
shitty people?
Which is they don't want to be with shitty people,
shitty.
but also become shitty because they don't feel ready. And I think there's just it's like, but at the same time, like, how are you gonna know something unless you throw yourself into it, kind of thing? Because I feel like a lot of people were like, I'm just gonna wait till I'm perfectly healed, like I'm perfectly, and I'm like, you're gonna continue to like spiral for the rest of your life, and you need to figure it out.
Yeah,
and you don't want to be.
Like, I'm as perfect as I will be today.
Yeah. But also, if you want to be single for the rest of your life, then that's cool, too. That's its own journey in life.
Mm-hmm. Some expectations with yourself right there.
What commitment do you have to yourself?
That's also important in general.
Yeah.
If you don't respect yourself, that's why you're not having partners who respect you. Anyways, I think that's it. I don't really have anything else to add in this specific topic, but... kind of in line with it, in Glowing Hour, we're going to talk about fairy tales and the tropes of love and what we were taught and what pop culture is telling us. So, stay tuned.
Catch you. Bye.